Why does it feel like something is breaking? Long before his enlistment, fans noticed a shift, a coldness in Jungkook's voice, fewer interactions with the other members, and a haunting look in his eyes that spoke louder than words. Could it all have been a warning? As Jungkook's discharge from military service draws near, theories are exploding. What if he doesn't return to BTS as we know it? What if this silence is the beginning of the end? Unseen footage, subtle signs, and cryptic messages are beginning to form a chilling picture, one that fans refuse to believe. Until now, could the golden magne of BTS be planning his own path, separate from the group that made him a global icon? This story dives deep into the clues you missed. The Last V Live, where Jungkook's words hinted at uncertainty lyrics in his solo projects that scream independence, awkward group interactions before. Enlistment industry insiders leaking potential solo negotiations, the unexplained absence of group mentions in his military letters. Something is changing. The bond we thought was unbreakable may already be breaking. Are we witnessing the beginning of Jungkook's exit from BTS? What if we've been watching the end of BTS in real time? It's a question no fan ever wanted to ask. A question that feels like betrayal just to speak aloud. And yet, it's now echoing through every corner of the ARMY community. For years, BTS stood as the definition of unity, of brotherhood, of something stronger than fame. But over the past year, an eerie silence has begun to settle around the group's youngest member, Jungkook. And now, as he inches closer to the end of his mandatory military service, a haunting possibility looms larger than ever before. What if Jungkook doesn't come back? Not just to Instagram, not just to V Live, but to BTS.it started quietly. So quietly, most people missed it.in the weeks before Jungkook enlisted. He held a live stream, not unlike others he'd done before. But there was something different in his voice. A heaviness. An unspoken tension. He laughed, he joked, but his words were strange. Subtle phrases like, "I'll miss you more than you know," and "I hope things will still be the same when I return," didn't just feel emotional, they felt like warnings. And then came the silence, and updates. No surprise letters. No indirect mentions from the agency. Armies waited. Then worried. Then obsessed. Because Jungkook has never been this disconnected. Ever. Fans began digging, rewatching past videos, looking for signs. And they found them. In the last few months before enlistment, Jungkook began appearing less and less in group content. Interviews showed him glancing off camera, withdrawn. Fan events, where he once overflowed with affection, were met with a quiet, distant energy. Even in group pictures, the chemistry looked strained. Was it burnout? Was it stress? Or was it something deeper? Something breaking under the surface? Some fans even noticed how other members seemed more cautious around him. Jimin's emotional silence. RM's cryptic lyrics about letting go. V's rare comment about everyone having different dreams. Could these all have been indirect admissions of a coming separation? No one said it out loud. But we all felt it. And then there are the songs Jungkook's solo tracks released just before enlistment. 7, 3D, Standing Next to You, and especially Hate You, sounded like love letters or farewell letters. Emotional. Longing. Torn between two worlds. One line still haunts fans to this day. "If this is the end, I hope you remember me well." What was he preparing us for? In late 2024, unconfirmed reports began to circulate on Korean online communities and Western fan forums. Jungkook was in deep discussions with an international label. Rumors claimed that after military service, he may want to pursue more artistic freedom, perhaps a global solo path that would allow him to express his mature sound, without the limitations of a group identity. Most dismissed it. Others raged at the thought. But behind the scenes, something wasn't adding up. HYB remained unusually quiet. No long-term post-service statements. No group comeback timeline. No formal plans involving Jungkook, but in fact, his name was absent from several internal promotions and future project hints. Coincidence? Or calculation for a man who once told fans, "You're the reason I sing"? Jungkook's silence feels like heartbreak, but maybe that's the point. Silence doesn't always mean absence. Sometimes it means resistance. A pause before a decision that changes everything. A retreat before a leap no one expects. Because maybe, just maybe, Jungkook isn't sure if he wants to return. Not to the version of BTS that once was. Not to the path that was written for him at age 15. But to something entirely his own. A former entertainment manager who worked with idols during enlistment shared anonymously. Many idols come back from military service with a new mindset. Jungkook was already evolving. He's tasted the freedom of global solo stardom. It's possible he won't want to give that up. In the same post, they added cryptically, "Watch how HYBE moves in Q3 2025. That's when you'll know." Fans are already preparing. Some are hopeful, others devastated. But the speculation refuses to die. The unthinkable question: could BTS survive, creatively, emotionally, spiritually? Without its youngest member, Jungkook isn't just a vocalist. He's a symbol, a glue, a pulse. Losing him wouldn't just shift the group's sound. It would shake the very heart of the fandom, and yet, the members themselves have spoken about individuality, about evolving, about growing up. Maybe this is part of the plan, or maybe it's a fracture no one saw coming. The next sections will unravel. Emotional reactions from ARMY's worldwide HYBE's strategic silence and past conflict history, Jungkook's potential contract structure and legal freedom, deep dive into psychological impact of military service on male idols, what happened in similar cases with other K-pop stars, potential solo routes Jungkook could take globally, how this could change K-pop forever, and finally, the emotional what if of saying goodbye for good. The silence is loud, but the emotions are louder. As the world inches closer to Jungkook's military discharge, ARMY isn't counting down with celebration anymore. They're bracing for something they never thought possible, a future without Jungkook and BTS. And let's talk about the agency. HYBE has always been measured in its messaging, carefully constructed, PR polished, designed to protect the brand. But in this situation, their silence has become a statement. There has been no official mention of Jungkook's post-discharge plans. No mention of a BTS comeback involving all 7 members. No schedules. No teasers. Not even the usual, "We ask for your support" boilerplate. And for the first time, fans are beginning to question why. A theory gaining traction suggests that HYBE is stalling. That they know Jungkook hasn't made a final decision, and they're buying time, waiting to see which direction he leans. Other insiders have hinted that behind closed doors, Jungkook has requested changes to his contract that would allow more freedom in future collaborations, solo ventures, and international promotions. One source from the entertainment industry, who requested anonymity, said, "Jungkook has leverage. He's arguably HYBE's most valuable individual asset. If he wants more control or even separation, he could walk. And he knows it." Future becomes reality. Can fans survive it? Across Twitter, now X, TikTok, and fan forums, the tension is unmistakable. Threads titled, "Is JK leaving? HYBE, speak up," and "I feel like we're losing him," are gaining thousands of replies per hour. Fans from Seoul to Sao Paulo, from Jakarta to New York, are experiencing what one psychologist referred to as parasocial grief in real time. It's the kind of heartbreak usually reserved for death, breakups, or betrayal. But this time, it's grief over uncertainty, and that makes it worse. Because no one knows the truth, and maybe that's the point. Even BTS themselves are starting to show cracks. It's subtle. Painfully subtle. But real. In recent solo interviews, members have all expressed support for each other's journeys. RM spoke of how paths can diverge. Jimin said, "We'll always be BTS in our hearts, but it's okay if our futures look different." Even Jin, during military leave, chose his words carefully when asked about the group's comeback. "It's clear they're preparing us for something, whether it's temporary or permanent." The members seem to be bracing fans for a new reality. One where being BTS doesn't necessarily mean moving as one unit. And if they are preparing for that, shouldn't we be listening? To understand what Jungkook may be going through, we have to look deeper, beyond the headlines, beyond the theories. Military service in South Korea is not just physical. It's transformational. It forces silence, routine, reflection. For male idols especially, it's the first time they are completely removed from fame, adoration, and freedom. They become anonymous. They become men. And in that transformation, priorities shift. Many return with new identities, new goals, and sometimes new distances from the life they once lived. Serving gives you clarity, said a former idol who returned from military duty in 2022. You start to ask yourself, am I doing this because I want to or because the world expects me to? Is Jungkook asking himself that same question right now?